Hello there, everybody. How are we all doing? How's it all going? I don't know if people can hear me okay. I'm not used to doing earphones. But hi there, everybody. As you can see, today I'm joined by a very special guest. May I introduce you all to the lovely, the talented, the beautiful Susan Calloway? If you'd like to say a
Hello.
few
Hello,
words.
everybody. Nice to see everybody.
Can we hear
Hello.
everybody okay?
I can
Excellent.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you also can chat everybody hear everything okay? Excellent. Right, well, before we get started on anything, I just want to mention to everybody that we will be taking some viewer questions from the chat. So if you have any particular questions, do post them in the chat, and hopefully, I can't promise we'll get through all of them, but hopefully we'll be able to put some of them on. And we also have some questions from my Patreons as well. And massive thank you, first of all, to you, Susan, for coming along today. It's lovely to have you today. And you look absolutely wonderful this evening, so thank you for coming along.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank you for having me on. It's amazing that you invited me to do this, and I so appreciate your support. And it's amazing to meet your amazing fans as well, because I know you've got lots of great followers on your stream. So it's
Yeah,
great.
it's definitely been a journey. But if anyone knows anything about sort of journeys and kind of explosive kind of followings, etc., it's you. Like you've obviously had such a huge kind of trajectory in the last few years, like with your music career and things like that, and performing, touring with Distant Worlds, and obviously being featured on a game that's massively popular in Final Fantasy XIV as well. But we also want to get to know you and sort of learn more about what kind of makes you tick as a person, what your sort of creative processes are, and what sort of things you're working on in the future.
For sure. And I can't wait to tell you all about it. So, yeah,
Excellent.
awesome.
So let's get stuck straight in realistically. So tell us more about sort of your work that's going on at the moment, what kinds of things you're working on right now, and maybe we can do a bit of a deep dive into that kind of thing.
Yeah. For sure, for sure. Well, obviously, many of you guys know me from Final Fantasy, which I'll just say quickly, it's been such an amazing journey to be involved with that project, and what a what an unexpected career highlight. I mean, you don't often get opportunities like this to share your voice or your music with people, and what's been really amazing about this is that it has allowed me to also win so many fans for my own music because I write music too. And even though I didn't write any of the songs I perform in Final Fantasy, hopefully people like my voice enough that they are kind of interested in maybe listening to stuff I've written, which is not really that big of a jump in a way. I'm actually a classically trained artist, so I kind of bring that sensibility to my songwriting, and I don't know, I don't think it's such a crazy jump actually. So, but anyway, as far as what I have going on now, I mean, obviously we've all been kind of in this crazy period of life with this pandemic, which has
Yeah.
obviously changed all of us, right? I mean, I think it's probably increased the streamers from that point of view because a lot of people are stuck at home, and so they're trying streaming for the first time. And then
Certainly
there's
how I
all
got into it.
sure, sure. And then there's people like me who I haven't been able to tour, and I've been trying to kind of just develop some new things because it's made me really rethink as an artist too what I really want to do. Because having the online world at my fingertips, as you guys all have as well, has been really cool because the rules of having to just do something based on where you live, that's all changed. Now we have all access to each other no matter where we live globally, which is amazing. So kind of I've done a couple things during this pandemic, and I'll tell you about it because I'm excited about these things, and I would love to share this with your listeners.
Absolutely,
Um,
please do.
so I started one of the things I started doing that I haven't done in a long time, but I've really been having a new kind of passion for coaching. I started coaching when I was in college. I did a little bit, and then I recently, when I was in a Distant Worlds concert over in Boston, I actually was asked to do some master classes at Berkeley School of Music,
Oh
and I did
wow.
a few of those. Yeah, and it was really fun, and I love the people that I met, and they're just some amazing artists and musicians that I got to work with, and that experience really just reminded me like how much I sort of miss doing some coaching, and I really enjoy doing it. So what I've done is I've created this really cool coaching platform. I have a new website that's almost done right now, where we've been working hard on it. It should be ready in the next couple of weeks. That's going to explain everything in more detail. But what I'm offering is I'm doing a ton of music coaching, like vocal coaching and songwriting coaching. So that's kind of the primary thing I'm offering, and I'm doing that like as a private. It's a private Zoom lesson with me, and you can either get them every week or twice a month, or if you just want a one-time thing, you can do that as well. So that's one thing I'm doing. And then also I'm offering kind of a group experience, because some people can't afford private study, and it's intense and it's not for everybody, but some people still want to sort of learn, and maybe they want like a small group setting. So I've created this kind of membership kind of music club that's called Backstage Pass. And that's a cool experience too, because you can have I'm going to be offering like 2 coaching sessions a month, but it's in like a small group format, so it's still like still some pretty personal coaching. Also, I'm going to be offering doing some song critiques and song reviews along with that membership, so people still have kind of direct access to me, and they can get some kind of feedback from things they're working on. So it's sort of like having a little bit of kind of private stuff, but it's more in a group setting, and it's a little more affordable. So I have sort of both those things going on. I still think private study is the best way, especially if you're considering a career in music, because there's nothing like someone working, in great detail with you and your voice and your music. So that's still probably the most effective way to kind of learn. But I'm kind of doing both, because I've had people approach me, that are kind of looking for both those different things. So I thought, why not? I'll just, offer that up. So I'm doing that. And I'm also doing some life coaching, because I also got certified as a life coach during the pandemic.
I
And
love
that's
that. I'm genuinely very interested in this. When we've talked about this in the past, I got so excited like hearing about it, and just the
uh,
experiences that you've had, and kind of sharing the experiences you've had to kind of help others through theirs. It's just been really wonderful to see. And as it says in the chat, as you can see down below, if you're interested in the vocal coaching or life coaching or anything like that, you can contact Susan directly via email at susan@susancalloway.com. But yes, sorry, please do tell us more about the life coaching.
yeah, no problem. No, I mean, it's kind of interesting, because certainly I've gone through a lot of different things in my life, and I'm incredibly compassionate to the struggles that we all go through. And I think the thing that really drove me to do that is because, first of all, in my heart, I am a person that really loves helping people. And I care so much, especially about my fans. And so many fans have reached out to me over the years struggling with different things. And I thought, it'd be really great to be able to offer more than just a friendly email in response, to actually maybe kind of create a coaching platform where I can actually
Mm-hmm.
kind of come alongside them and help them through some of this stuff. And I think that makes such a difference in life. I've had a lot of coaching myself, and
Mm-hmm.
it can really be transformational as far as really building your confidence, and really trying to identify the things that are holding you back. Because sometimes we have things that we're not even realizing that are sort of keeping us from being successful, or keeping us from having great relationships. And that's an important thing in life, because so many times we can't reach our potential because we've got these blind spots. Like maybe we don't really see what's holding us back, and it's hard because we've all been through stuff that's hurtful, and whether it's family stuff or personal stuff
Yeah.
or whatever. And just a chance to be able to work with someone that's in your corner, that can kind of sympathize and support you, and maybe give you some tools that you don't have, to sort of look at yourself differently and
Yeah.
to work through that stuff, that can be just life changing. And I've gotten life coaching myself. I've had a lot of challenges too.
Me
I've had
too.
in my family that have been difficult, and I've been great parents, but we've been through a lot of stuff. And it's I honestly think everyone benefits from it. It's just a matter of where you are in your life and what's going on. And even if it's just stuff with your career. I have a lot of people that ask me about, I don't know what to do, and I want to get into music, or I want to do this, or maybe I'm trying to be an influencer or a streamer, and I'm not sure how to be successful at it. And I've actually developed like a little platform to help people even work through that, so they kind of have a really good why. I'm always asking my students, that's one of my big things, is what is your why? What is the big focus of what you want to say with your life, with your career?
Mm.
And so many times we can build an amazing platform if we really identify that, and we really know like
Yeah.
what our purpose is. What do we want to share? What do we want to, offer the world that's going to kind of help everybody? And I'm always encouraging people to, we always, I think it's amazing to have a platform where you're wanting to contribute and make the world better. You know, I think we've got a lot of hurting people in our world, and I think to be able to contribute something that can help people is amazing. And that's really at the heart of everything I'm trying to build. It's just trying to help people to really realize the amazing gifts that God's given them, and to just be, you know, how to run after that stuff with full speed. You know,
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think it's so important to kind of understand your value as a person, and and I said this to you not too long ago. I think it's really interesting because I definitely had a similar journey myself, where I kind of went through a phase of why and what the why is of what I do and things like that. And I think that detaching myself from the situation, obviously a lot of people can benefit from that sort of thing. And as I said, like, I've had life coaching in the past as well, and I agree with you 100% that there are a lot of people in the world that could benefit from something like that. So I think the fact that you've transferred all the experiences that you've had into a way that can empathize with others and lift them up, whether it be through the career or difficulties that they're facing in their lives, I think it's genuinely a very noble thing to do. So for anyone who wants to learn more about that, I definitely encourage you to obviously do some research beforehand and sort of look into whether it's something that you feel you'd benefit from. But I honestly agree with what you're saying there, Susan. I think everyone could benefit from it a great deal. So thank you for doing that. I think it's wonderful.
And you know, you guys, if you're interested at all too, I offer free consultations. So you don't have to, like, if you want to just talk about it more too, we can like hop on a Zoom, you know, a little Zoom meeting and just talk it through. There's no harm in that, you know, just to kind of see if you feel like this is a right fit, and we could talk about what, you know. And I always like to be very transparent too. If you've got something going on, I feel like you need like something that I can't offer, I will tell you.
Yeah, I think that's important too, isn't it? It's like sometimes it's like, no, you might need a different approach to.
Right, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
right, and I'm not
definitely.
a psychologist, so it's different. There are some things that are, you know, better suited for that environment, you know. But if it's just like dealing with more life stuff and really trying to focus your, you know, relationships or your whatever you're going through, or your career or something like that, that's where life coaching can just, you know,
Mm.
help nudge you in the right direction. So.
Now, obviously, we can't have a conversation without discussing Final Fantasy XIV, because obviously it's such a big part of you know, why we're here today together. Because obviously, as somebody who plays Final Fantasy and as somebody who has been a major part of the franchise and has left their print on that franchise in quite a big way, how would you say working on a video game differs from other projects that you've done, whether it be your own music? By the way, Favorite Scar is amazing. I'm just going to put that out there. Uh, so,
Coaching is one thing. There's more.
oh, of course.
And, well, no, and you know, it's. I'm glad you asked that. Final Fantasy has been amazing to work on. Obviously, I mean, it's. I think when I first started getting involved, I kind of got involved at a really kind of cool moment, because I was, you know, Final Fantasy obviously had been around, because I didn't start singing on the game, you know, until 14. So
Hmm.
obviously it had been around before I got involved. But my first involvement was actually through doing an audio CD for Arnie Roth for Distant Worlds, and Distant Worlds had not even really started as a tour yet. So I
Mm.
sort of was on the ground floor of Distant Worlds when it first kind of started, and I just kind of did a few shows, and it just turned into this big thing. Like, people just really loved this live performance version of all this music, and so it's kind of an interesting way to kind of get introduced to all of this, you know. So
Yeah.
that's been great, and working on this has been very different than obviously another situation, because I mean, a video game is different than working like on a film. And I mean, I've worked on films and television shows and lots of advertising. I've done lots of recording sessions over the years. I have a studio in my house. I mean, that's been my main career. And working on a video game is very different. It's very, and yet it's similar too. I mean, there's like a storyline, and there's, you know, I think it's more, in a sense, it's more grandiose, because it's like, you know, if you're part of a video game, it's sort of like you're part of this historical moment that's going to sort of be around forever in a way, you know,
Yeah.
where, well, as long as Final Fantasy exists, maybe it'll dissipate at some point, but hopefully it'll be around
Hope
for
not.
yeah, I hope not.
Because then I'm out of a job.
No, for sure. All of us, right? But no, but I think it's different than doing some of the other things I work on are much more like, you know, like if you do an advertising campaign, for example, it has like a lifespan, and then it's over, you know, and and even doing some of the television stuff. Some of this television stuff though lasts, and some of the film stuff. But that's something I like about it, is you sort of are involved in this story that sort of lives. It continues to live. It's like it's alive. It's like an alive. The land's alive, so believe, right?
Yeah,
It's a more living kind of experience that kind of continues to be around, which is really cool because it's not. There are still new players, I think, that are coming into the game that are still just discovering.
absolutely.
It's amazing. So it's kind of a thing that, even though it's been out for a while, it still kind of continues to, reemerge and reinvent itself. And that's been really amazing. So I've been just incredibly honored to be involved in it. I've been so impressed with the quality of musicianship and everything with Square Enix that it's been awesome. It's been a real treat to be involved with those guys. They've been, amazing to work with. They're really respectful of, my talents, my time, and working with Nobu was incredible. He's just an incredible musician. I so enjoy working with him. I mean, that was,
Very talented man.
experience with us. Yeah, he's just a really good guy, and he's just humble and he's kind, and he wanted so much for me to be collaborating on everything that we did, and he really wanted me to collaborate as far as like what would be how would I do the song if I was doing it for a record, or and wanting to embrace my vocal ideas or my interpretation, which was really great because not every producer or composer you work with will let you do that. Some people are very specific about things that they want, and you don't have as much room to be creative. And he really embraced my involvement that way, which I think is one of the reasons we came up with such a cool, genuine performance, because it was coming from a genuine place,
Yeah, definitely.
But he recognized that as being important, and that's such a true thing of music. People could just, artists are really good at what they do if you let them just do it, like let them do their thing, and not try to.
I was gonna say, like, I think that your voice is so much more than just the sound that comes out of comes out. It's about your point of view. It's about your position on certain things. So when you've been able to kind of insert yourself into that role, the end product is obviously going to be that much stronger because you've been allowed to imprint yourself onto it. And I think that as any kind of artist, it's really important to have that freedom.
Right, it really is. And that's kind of why too, it goes back to that one little question that I threw out earlier when we were talking about coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Having a goal or having a focus about what you're doing, whether it's a career or maybe it's a relationship that you're having, or your music or a job, it really applies to everything in life. It's so important to know, like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you doing? Like, when I get on stage, if I'm going to sing a song, I have to really focus on, like, if I'm going to do it well, I need to focus on what is the message of the song? What's the best way for me to sing this? And that's, I was explaining this to one of my students yesterday. We were working on her set, and one of the things that we were talking about is it's so important when you're on stage to really it's up to you to introduce people to what this is about. It's up to you to introduce people to your music. And when you write a song for the first time, let's say, the next thing that we have to decide as artists is, okay, how am I going to tell the story? Because every song is a story, and you have a decision as an artist, like, okay, what's the best way for me to use my voice and the texture of my voice and the emotion of my person to really tell the story in a genuine way,
Yeah.
So that it is like sort of acting in a sense, but I think that is, to me, the thing that marks a great performance. And that's something I've really tried to do with the songs in Final Fantasy, is to put my heart and soul into them in my performances. And I think that's worked well, because I think that it's a game that people are so passionate about, as you know.
They very much are.
Yeah, and they're so passionate about the music, which I don't blame them, because there's so much gorgeous music in this game, and much of which I had nothing to do with. And to be able to sing those songs well, especially when we did the Fan Fest, because there were songs I did at Fan Fest that we did kind of these unplugged versions of some of the songs, like some of the ones that I didn't even, I'm not necessarily the original singer. Like, for example, what is that really crazy song?
I'll say I can think of a few because I've actually seen you perform at Distant Worlds. I was like, yes, 2019.
Oh,
And
awesome.
yeah, you were there, and that was my kind of first introduction, sort of, to you and your music. And hearing you say like, putting across the message of the song and connecting to the audience, you absolutely can tell that that's at the forefront of your mind when you perform. Because I
Oh,
think that, and it was a beautiful performance. I think anyone who has been to Distant Worlds and seen you perform, or FanFest, or anything like that, can tell that you're very passionate about what you do. And I think it's really apparent that you're trying to inspire with your work. And
oh,
I connect with that a great deal. I do have some questions actually from the chat, so I'm just going to quickly post a couple of those before we continue. So Leloop says, my question would be, where do you find your inspiration? So I would assume that that's coming from sort of your inspiration for your creative process, as it were. Because obviously we've spoken about you wanting to connect with your audience and sort of put across a message. But do you have any kind of ways of delving into your creative process before you get started on a new song, whether you're writing it or performing something that you didn't write?
sure. That's a great question, and there's a lot of pieces to that depending on what I'm doing. As far as what inspires me, though, there's probably two pieces. There's what inspires me as a person, and then there's also what inspires me for individual, pieces of music I'm working at. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, if I'm working on another person's piece of music, which I often will do for a recording session or for like even for Final Fantasy or Distant Worlds, I'm always trying to ask, what is the message of the song, and I kind of try to find something in my own life that I connect with that makes it real. Like a
Mm-hmm.
song, for example, like "Kiss Me Goodbye," which I do at Distant Worlds. That song, I can connect with that because I have lost people that I love, and I've had to say goodbye to people that I had to let go of, even though it was horribly difficult and painful. And so by connecting that to my own experience, it gives me a place to really sing that song from. And I think that making personal connections with music is very important, because that's
Yeah.
what sort of makes it real for you, so that you're not really acting up there. You actually are being really genuine, and you're tapping into that. Just as an actor or actress would for a scene, they were going to
Mm.
tap into emotion to do a part, you know what I mean? So that it is genuine, if they're having to drum up tears or whatever they're having to do, they connect it with something that is really, they can relate to it. They connect
Absolutely.
they can relate. And as far as what connects me as a person, or what inspires me as a person is, and I think I've shared this with you before, that I have a really strong faith in God and a really personally strong
Yeah.
God. That's how I start every day, you guys. I start in prayer, and I have like books that I read, or little like kind of soul guide type things that just give me some inspiration. Maybe it's like a verse or just an inspiring story, and those things are really important to me because I think our soul is really central to us, and I think the more we kind of care for that and nurture that, it affects every single part of our life. It allows us to bring kind of an integrity and a character, and that's where it's almost like a gut check every day of like really aligning myself with like, okay, I really want to be a person that is loving today. I really want to focus on being a blessing with my words, with my choices, with how I interact with my fans, with how I
Yeah.
interact with my partner, with how I interact with, anything I'm doing. And I think that's what inspires me, because I always want to think every day that I'm, giving as much love as I can to people, and not that I do perfectly, because I'll get mad just like anybody.
Oh, we
But
all make mistakes.
exactly.
We all
But
do it.
it's such
Anyone
a
who's been
great
on here for long enough knows the Lord I do it.
it's a great place to start. It's a great place to start your day, to sort of align yourself, and to be kind of focusing on like, instead of, I really believe in being intentional, like not just to bump around randomly. It's like if you have a random like approach to your life like that, I think it becomes very hard to accomplish things. I think we need to be very like intentional, and we can
Mm.
decide what kind of person we want to be, and every day you can actually wake up and go, okay, I'm going to really focus on this today. I'm really watch my words. I think words are so powerful. And I
I
think
agree.
we see that in social media, right? Like so many people are careless, or they say something unkind, or they, whatever. And wow, it can really blow up quickly, right? And I think that's a great example of how just taking a minute to think through before you even open your mouth for the day, of just going, all right, I want everything that I say today to really like to speak life to people, to speak kindness, to speak
To
to
have the
encourage.
intention.
Yeah, exactly. To encourage rather than tear down, to look for the best in people, and to shine the light on that instead of criticizing or putting down or looking for the problem or looking for the flaws. Because we all have flaws. I mean, dude, I have tons of flaws, but it's like I want to be that kind of person instead, you know.
I think it's all
So
about growth, isn't it? It's just about kind of identifying yourself. And like, I've definitely been through it, and as you say, I'm sure you have too, where you kind of. I think we've all had that point where randomness starts to take effect because apathy, I find, leads into that. So when you grab hold of that and you grab hold of your intention, your crux, as a word, that's a word that's like a buzzword I've been using for a very similar effect to what you're talking about as well. Just your crux, your focus. What is it you want to do? What is your message that can permeate all aspects of your life and how you put yourself across? And intention and thinking before you act, I think, is a wonderful kind of just message to put out to everybody, because Lord knows I've definitely dealt with people who don't do that, and I'm sure we all have.
right.
But
No, and I
mm,
think what we do too is that we let our emotions run our lives. And you know what that is? I think so many times like I think this is true of American culture, and I don't. You'll have to tell me if you think it's true of
mm,
European culture also. But I know we tend to celebrate how we feel. Like how we feel is the most important thing, and
yeah,
certainly how we feel is important, and it can give us clues to things. But not everything I feel is something I should act on. I mean, think about the things we think about
100%.
or the emotions we feel sometimes. It doesn't mean, look, I might get mad at my fiance, but it doesn't mean it's okay to take a baseball bat and club him in the head, and I might be really angry, but I'm not going to do that. Like that's where I go, well, I'm angry right now, but that's not a good response. And obviously, most of us have decent, self
You'd
checking,
hope. You'd hope.
that, but it's like, but you know what I mean? I mean, we don't, I think I feel like we would benefit so much if we just thought through more, like I said, thinking before we speak, and then also realizing that some of the emotions we feel, just because I feel something doesn't make it true, because
Yeah.
I can feel stuff sometimes that isn't true. Like I can be depressed about my life one day and start just feeling sorry for myself, and I have to kind of have a talk in that moment with myself and say, well, Susan, you're just having a bad day. It doesn't mean your life sucks. It doesn't mean everything actually is bad. You're just feeling down and in that way our emotions can sort of lie, and that's, I mean, I think that's, and obviously there's emotional disorders like bipolar or depression and things like that people really suffer from. In fact,
Yeah.
my fiance has bipolar, so I'm very sympathetic to emotions being really strong and not knowing what to do with all that, and he and I talk about that all the time, and the biggest thing I always tell him, we were talking about this last night, I'm like, look, I know things have been, he's been having a little bit of struggle lately because
Yeah.
a lot of people who have a bipolar, when the seasons change, they really struggle, and he was struggling with that. And we were talking about it. He's really good about talking. And I just kept telling him, I go, look, you're not going to feel like this forever. I go, you just have to get through this kind of hump. And you know what? Everything is actually really good. And I'm really proud of you. You have so many great things you're doing.
That's so
You
sweet.
just having that encouragement because his emotions right now are so big and wrong, and they're not right also, and they don't represent reality because actually his life's actually great right now, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel that way. And I think we struggle, we struggle sometimes, even those of us who aren't who don't have bipolar.
I think everyone has their struggles, don't they? But we can all do to learn from ourselves in that way and just to develop. Well, we have an active choice to. I mean, obviously, as you say, there are conditions and things like that that stand in the way of a lot of things. But I think largely, a lot of us have the opportunity to make an intention to be happier, to like improve certain situations and aspects, the ones that we have control over at the very least. Obviously there is a lot of elements we don't have control over, but I think that what you're saying is absolutely spot on. And and I do think that bringing back to your life coaching, that is something that a lot of people can benefit from, because it allows people to see that there's more within their control than they possibly think.
Right. Well, no, and so many times too we struggle because we don't have the tools, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that I've gone through myself in my own journey with just dealing with the past, dealing with, like here's a good example. Sometimes we find when we start reflecting on our lives that we tend to make the same type of mistakes, you know? And that's true of most of us. There's usually things that we're good at or things that we've kind of figured out and we do okay making good choices with. And then there's also things that we struggle that we think, well, gee, why do I keep, a good one for women that I think women relate to? I mean, guys maybe too, but is relationship choices. Like I know in the past, that was something I had a series of time in my life where I wasn't always making the best choices with that situation. I kind of really dig deeper and go, well, why am I choosing this kind of person? Like this isn't healthy. Like what does that say? Like what wound is that like kind of showing me is there that maybe needs to be healed and addressed? And that was an amazing discovery for me as I really started realizing like, wow, like that's why, and I need to really like let God heal me from that and let that go. And that I don't, just because you have something that hurt you in the past doesn't mean you have to stay broken, And
Power of letting go.
Yeah, we don't have to stay broken with the stuff that's hurt us. We can actually heal and recover. And then from there, even though it's always maybe something we'll be a little bit sensitive to, it becomes something we can be a blessing to other people and help them through. It can be used for something really good in our lives. That
Absolutely.
it's almost like a repurposing of something bad that happens, which is cool.
Changing the intention, exactly what you were saying.
Exactly.
Now we do have a question from my Patreon as well, and I thought we'd answer that. What was it like touring with Distant World, says Tidal Wade. So you were chosen to kind of jump up onto Distant Worlds and touring, from what I gather, from your your work on television and film and things like that. So thank you very much for the question as well, first of all. But yeah, what is it like to kind of tour the world with a orchestra and Arnie and Nobuo and people like that? Is it something that you kind of come home from at the end of it and you kind of go, oh, I just did that?
Kind of. I mean, it's been a really positive experience. I mean, I really appreciated again, touring. I've done high level touring, and I've also done difficult, like, put the rock band in the van and just slug it out to the next city touring. And
Yes, because you had a band, didn't you?
exactly. No, yeah,
Yes.
I totally did. Several bands, and I may again.
Really?
But no, it's been amazing touring with Distant Worlds. It's very, very professional, which makes it a very pleasant job, because they take very good care of me, and it's amazing. It's a ton of fun, and it's usually a very focused experience because we don't perpetually tour. It's usually like I'm hired for certain shows, so I'll go to a location and then I come home, and then I go to another show and then I come home. And there's been a few instances where we did a few shows and then come home, when there were cities that were relatively close or something. We've done that in Europe a couple times. We did that also in Japan, where we hit we did Tokyo, but then we also went to Osaka, because 4 hours away on the train or whatever. So, and we've done that with Europe as well, like hitting I think we did not Switzerland, Scotland and England and France, like all in one loop once. So that's always a little bit more like a tour, but it's been amazing. And I love working with Arnie. Arnie's super talented, and he's actually a really fun guy. His wife.
I'd love to meet him. He does seem like, from the conversations we've had and everything, I just think that he sounds just wonderful to be around. And yeah.
Yes, he's a really sweet guy, and he's really hardworking. Really admire that. He's got a crazy work ethic. And his wife is really awesome as well. I've gotten to be good friends with her, Marcy, and she really is very helpful on the road too. She's kind of like the one that takes care of all of us if there's any kind of issue. Make sure we all have food and water, things like that. But it's been great, and I love when I've done a little touring with Benny too, with Benny Amanus, and he's become a friend of mine. So I really love when he's there because we have a good time. But no, it's totally fun, and it's really professional, and it is some hard work, and usually when I come in, there's not a bunch of free time. It's like you come in, you've got rehearsals, and then you do the show. So it's pretty like boom, boom, boom. But it's amazing, and I've gotten to see so many amazing places in the world, and I've met so many cool fans. I've met all of you guys. I've met so many of you at shows, which has been so meaningful because it's like,
Do you have like a memory? Because I always think about, because for those of you who might not know, I used to work and do commentary for Square Enix on their streams and stuff, and I always remember certain interactions that I've had with fans of like the games and things like that in the past. Do you have like a memory that sticks out in your mind of an interaction with a particular fan, or just something completely unexpected? I guess just sort of tell us something perhaps that we wouldn't already know.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, because all the interactions are really special. I mean, the fans are amazing. They're always bringing gifts and things like that, which is really always amazing, actually. I still
Oh,
have some
bless.
tea I got from someone in Paris that's got all these different types of green tea, and it was on these really cute little tins, and I still have it in my kitchen.
I mean,
Um,
I.
there you go. And I know I'm not actually drinking tea right now. I should be. I got water though, so I'm
Oh no,
good
you're
water.
fine. You're fine.
But no, I think one of the times that I actually have a great picture of this too that a friend of mine took. There was a little girl that I met. She probably was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and it was at it was the first fan fest I did in Las Vegas, and I met her, and she was so like I guess she was just a huge fan of mine, and couldn't barely even talk when she came up to the thing,
That's
and
so
she was
sweet.
so excited, and her face was just like lit up, and it was like the cutest thing I've ever seen because she was so like I just love your music and like she and she's so little
Oh
so
bless.
it was really that was one of those moments because I mean obviously most of my fans are adults, so having like a teeny little mini person be so like you know totally enamored was like very flattering and very adorable. So I still have a picture of it. I've posted it a couple times. I should post it later. It's really cute because you can see
That's
her profile.
adorable. Yeah, you have to definitely tag me in that when you do, because then I would be like, because I just think that those kinds of interactions just make everything worthwhile. They really do. Just when you see that and you've made like an impression on somebody, if it like certainly like a child or something like that, to know that somebody's coming up to you and just going, "Oh my god, I love what you do."
Right.
That's got to be so rewarding.
It is rewarding, and it's really it means so much to me, you guys. I mean, I've had so many beautiful messages from people. I had a message from a guy the other day who's actually from London, and he is blind, and he wrote me this beautiful message about how much the music had meant to him, and he went to one of
That's
the
so.
shows, and he's never, can't see me, but he is like he just loves the music, and
How powerful is that though?
no, it really is, and that's the stuff you guys. Because look, I get discouraged just like anybody, and those are the things on the days that I go, "Does this really matter?" Or I don't know, because you just, as a musician, you can be kind of moody and just, you're always reassessing of like, what can I do now, or there's still things I want to accomplish, and how do I do it? And it seems so hard sometimes, and then I
The
read these
grind of the artist.
yeah, it's just because it's hard. It's hard, and I love writing music. I mean, I'm a singer-songwriter in my
Yeah,
true
absolutely.
so it's like I really want to still do so much more with my music. I would love to. One of the things I'm hoping to do in the next couple of years is do my own tour. Where I am just
Yes.
it's like in the piano and go out on like, play some cool clubs through Europe and do some in the U.S. and just do like a Susan tour. And I'd love to do
I'll
that.
expect a text so I can just come and find you. I'll be
Exactly.
waiting. And I'm
Sure.
sure everyone else will too.
No, and that brings up another thing I want to share with you guys too that I have going on is there's two things I want to tell you. One is I'm working on a new body of work of music that I'm going to be releasing this year, and I'm going to really try to do a full like record. So it's probably going to be available on like CD, maybe some vinyl. But I've got a
I
bunch of
love a
new songs.
vinyl.
I can't wait to share them with you. I've got even some remakes of some Final Fantasy songs I've been working on to share as well. And I think it's going to be sort of an unplugged recording, like Susan and the piano, like just more minimalistic, which I think will be really cool. Um, and the other thing is, I also have this private fan club, which, like you, I have a Patreon, but it's actually going to be moving to my website, and it's going to be a really cool new platform. And I think you guys are really going to love it. It's really focused on people who love video games, and a lot of the benefits and stuff are going to be things you guys are going to love. So for example, I have a very large email list, and one of the things I'm going to start doing is featuring a different streamer who are in my fan club. You get to be featured in my newsletter periodically, which hopefully will I'll do some self. You can do some promotion through me.
Excellent.
Hopefully help. So some just little things like that I haven't offered before. So I'm sort of excited about that. That's going to be coming up. So stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Well, I shall definitely be on the lookout for that. And I think it's great that you've kind of adapted the experience that you've had with Final Fantasy to crafting out your own kind of development and making it so that people can come to find you and the things that you're doing and the message that you have that is exclusively yours. And I love that. I think that's so important as well because, you know, as artists or anything like that, I think it's really important that you have your own freedom to do what you want to do. And I think it's fantastic that you've really carved that out for yourself in so many different fashions. And honestly, like, I just think that because you've had all of this sort of success through Final Fantasy XIV and a lot of fans know you from that, I think it's wonderful for people to kind of get to know you through the other things that you do. For example, like I heard not too long ago, like a cover you did of Johnny Cash's Hurt, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic, and I do think that people really do need to kind of explore your other bodies of work and things like that because you are extremely talented and you're extremely good at what you do, and I think that people really can benefit to see more of that, as well as just, you know, we can all appreciate answers, Dragon Song, you know, Revolutions, all the stuff that, you know, we've come to know you for and sort of love your work for. But I think that seeing people kind of go, oh, what else is there? Let's go have a little explore. You will not be disappointed with what you find.
Oh, thank you. That's such a sweet thing to say, and I so appreciate that. And I'm honored for that. And listen, and you know, another thing I'm going to start doing very soon here because I've been wanting to work on a live streaming concert experience for everyone, and I've had a little trouble with getting the right gear and technical stuff to get it sounding how I want, and I'm very close to solving that. And when I do, I'm really hoping to start doing like a Twitch stream, you know.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, like maybe a couple times a month, do like a concert stream where I'm actually giving, you know, sharing a live performance of, you know, so that would be a great place for people to also, you know, hear more music and hear me play some other stuff. I'll play Final Fantasy stuff and Susan stuff and
excellent.
A little, so that'll be
awesome.
Hopefully something.
Well, I think it's time for another question from the chat, so let's see what we can find here. So, Flux says, is there a franchise you would love to do work for in the future, perhaps a favourite film or TV series?
Well, there's lots of stuff. I've always wanted to have one of my songs in one of the like superhero movies.
Oh God, yeah. How cool would that be?
It'd be great exposure, but also because it's like I feel like it's, you know, they always have some kind of like hopeful song, and it would be really great to like have something that was sort of championing the lead character like that. I always thought that'd be kind of fun. And
so you think you want to do like a character theme or something like that?
Like, I don't know, like if there's a new Spider-Man movie, I'd love to like write the theme song or something.
Oh God, yeah.
That'd be fun. So yeah, I'd love to do that stuff, and I'm pretty open. I mean, I'd love to. There's a lot of great. There's a lot of great little shows now that like I don't even know what to call them because they're kind of like we've gotten into this whole like we've got these. It's almost like they're movies that are cut into pieces. You know what I mean? Like there's almost these series now. The
binge-worthy ones, the ones that you kind of sit and watch from start to finish, 10 episodes, and you just get through the whole thing in a day.
Like those. What a cool like concept all that is. But it'd be fun to work on something like that. That would be awesome. There's a series that I love that's called The Chosen, which I love. You know, it's kind of like based on the Bible, but it's like really amazing, like what they've done with that. That would be a fun one to write music for. And it's very like meaningful and there's so much symbolism and things like that. So that would be very cool. But as far as another franchise, a video game franchise that I thought would be fun to work on is that Nier franchise because I really have come to love the music from that. It's
one of my favorites.
That kind of singing and stuff too, that real ethereal, like that's I can totally do that stuff.
It's so unique, isn't it? Like I mean just the music I love the music from both of the Nier games, but I felt that Nier Automata, which is the more recent of the two, just had this seamlessness throughout the entire soundtrack. I mean, I'm trying to think of sort of particular tracks. Like A Beautiful Song is the name of a really popular one from that's phenomenal. And I actually, I go to a lot of video game concerts. So I'm just going to put that out there. But I went to the Nier one in 2020, just before the lockdowns happened. And now that I think of it, I can totally picture you singing Weight of the World. Absolutely 100% picture you singing that. It just would work.
That's awesome. We should send me a link so I can check that song out.
I will do. Right, so we do... Oh, go on.
Sorry, go ahead. No, yeah, just that's it.
So again, we'll have another question from Patreon. So Kellen says, what has been your favourite Final Fantasy song to perform, both within Distant Worlds and for Final Fantasy XIV? So one in particular that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I mean, Answers is always going to be one of those because it's such a powerful song, and I think it's really, the other songs that I did for 14 are beautiful too, but the Dragon song especially I think is, really, it definitely competes with Answers to some degree, but Answers is still just there's just something about that song.
I cried the first time I saw that because when I actually saw you perform that before I started playing 14.
Oh yeah.
So I had no context whatsoever for that song, but just it was powerful is the only word that works for it. It was so I hate using the word epic because the word epic is used in everything nowadays. But but it really is, and I bawled the whole
Yeah.
way through it.
It's really intense, and I definitely, and I enjoy singing it. I mean, it's a monstrous song to sing. It takes a lot out of me, but it's definitely a really powerful one. And I also really enjoy Kiss Me Goodbye. I mean, that one's one I don't get as much. I don't know if as many people. I know there's people that like that song. I don't know if it's one of the more popular ones or not, but I really like that song. I think it's really beautiful, and I think
Yeah.
to it because it's more of a pop structure than a lot of the other stuff. So it's more like a song that I would probably put on a record, like for my own, you know what I mean? Like it fits more in a mainstream pop kind of style.
Yeah.
So it was an easier song for me to figure out. And it's really, and I like what it says. I feel like it's just a really intense song, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful song.
It is lovely.
I enjoy singing that one. The other ones I enjoy too. They're just some of them are a little more challenging. I mean, I actually really like Distant Worlds a lot. I actually did a Susan version of Distant Worlds. I
Hmm.
only released it to my fan club, but I would like to release it as a mainstream song. I just have to sort of get some permission to do it. But I
His
would like
answers, would you say, was that the most difficult one to do because it takes a lot out of you, or is there one that kind of every time if it comes up on a set list, you kind of go, "Oh, here we go."
No, it's not. It's difficult, but no, I enjoy doing it. I've definitely gotten, to the point where that I mean, it just uses so much of my range. I remember one of the challenges in working on some of the songs that Naboo writes is that he is an orchestrator. So the way that he writes is more like he writes these gorgeous melodies that really, a violin could play or something. They're not always easy to sing. They're singable, but they're, because it's this beautiful melody that you want to sing, but they're not always easy to sing. And
Mm.
that can be challenging. Like, that really came out in Revolution, the third song that I did. That was a very difficult song to sing because
Hmm.
there wasn't a lot of space for breathing. There wasn't, there was parts that were like fast and slow, and it was actually very challenging to get that, where it should be. So some songs are just like that. They're just more challenging. So
So,
yeah.
when it comes to your own music, do you have any kind of what music? I suppose the best question to ask actually, what music are you listening to right now, and that you kind of think, oh, I like the way the pitch and the tempo of this particular track, and then maybe I could use some of that, or just generally, just what sort of music do you like to listen to?
Well, I listen to a lot of stuff. One of the things I do is I listen to Pandora and I listen to like world music just because it's
Mm.
such a deviation of just the whole pop, because I'm always, when I do listen to pop music because a lot of times I have to do sessions where I have to be aware of kind of what's going on. If Ariana Grande does something, I might have to like do it or something. So I have to sort of be aware. I can't put my head in the sand about it. Um, and there's some amazing artists that are out. I actually really like Ed Sheeran. I think he's an amazing songwriter. I love
Hmm.
his stuff. I like Sam Smith. I think is incredible. I love Florence and the Machine.
I love Florence the Machine.
Yeah, and just I think she's such an emotive vocalist, and just what a just the production and everything that they do is just I love. And I mean my two favorite bands at this moment are probably Florence and the Machine and Coldplay. I also love Coldplay. I just
Coldplay's a
love.
good one. It's classic. There's so much. Both British, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm secretly British, I think, but I love
So
this.
we'll adopt you. It's fine. Come over.
No kidding. No, and I love spending time in England. It's amazing. It's a very creative, inspiring place to me. So, But yeah, I love both those bands because of just the textures of the production and just the moods they create with their music. I love. That actually is kind of what inspired Favorite Scars production.
Oh, really?
Although,
Oh, actually, now that you say that,
yeah,
yes, I can see it.
yeah, it's just that kind of got that moody kind of a film-esque vibe, I guess. I might do an unplugged version of that song though as well. I've had some fans, ask me if I would do that, so I may put up just a piano vocal version of Favorite Scar out as well. So we'll see.
You play the guitar as well, though, don't you?
Ew.
I was going to
Uh,
say, I was saying, have you released any kind of unplugged where it's just you and an acoustic guitar as well as a piano, or?
I have not, but that is definitely if I do an unplugged recording, which is where I'm heading now. It will include some guitar and vocal stuff too.
Oh, lovely.
So it'll have both. It'll be a mix of either piano, vocal, or guitar. And I might add a little bit of production, some strings and little sweetening things here and there. But I do
Excellent.
something that's sort of timeless and unplugged, and you know, I'd love to do a rock record too. That'll be next because I still have a little rock
I'd
part
love
of
to
me.
hear that. I'd love to hear that because obviously, like, I mean, I tried to find some of like your old bands and some of the tracks that were about then, but I couldn't find anything. And I was just like, oh, I want to hear Susan's rock vibe.
I know, and I pulled some stuff down because we were trying to sort of refocus my iTunes page, but I might re-release some of that stuff just so it sort of can get in the algorithm again, and maybe do some different artwork, maybe freshen up the mix a little bit. Some of
Mm.
it was like to me, it sounded a little dated, so I'd like to kind of freshen up some of it and just kind of you know.
Excellent. Well, I've got another couple of Patreon questions. Just I think it would be a nice way to kind of round everything out. So, we at Paragon says, do you have an idea of the significance of the song you're singing with regards to how they'd be used in the game? So, did you expect things to blow up the way that it did? I mean, you were featured on Fox News and stuff when Answers came out, and did you kind of know when you were recording it? Oh, this is going to be a thing.
No, I had no idea. I mean, we knew it was going to be a very special song, but then if you remember when Answers was first done, it was the original 14, which you remember they actually pulled it because they had some problems with it, and they were going to and then they were going to re-release it, which they did, and they kept the song, which we were really grateful because we were afraid they were going to pull the song too.
Oh yeah, I didn't
And
even
so
think of that.
yeah, so that was actually when we first did it, we were like, oh no, like we did all this work. It's such a cool song. I hope they keep it. And we sort of were on pins and needles there. And then we were, of course, relieved that they, included it still. So, but I mean, I knew it definitely felt epic to me when we did it. I mean, as far as, but sometimes you can be wrong about that. So none of us knew it was going to be so popular.
Mm.
But I'm really happy, of course, it resonated. And, I tried to research as much as I could know, but to kind of answer that question a little bit more, I've had to sort of research a little on my own what these songs are about. Square Enix doesn't necessarily give me like a bunch of information, like, okay, we're going to use the song here, and this is like what's going on in the story, which honestly would have probably been helpful. But I mean, really through the fans and stuff is where I've really learned a lot. And my community manager, Leon, hello, Leon, by the way.
He's in the chat as we speak.
Thank you. Forgot to acknowledge him. Thank you so much. He's so hardworking. He comes to every stream and he's always sharing everything. So thank you, Leon. You are the best. But even Leon has shared some stuff about the game with me, and I have another assistant, Jessica, that's shared some stuff, and that's really helpful to kind of give me the background and make sure I'm kind of I've got the right intention with what I'm singing, and everything. So.
Yeah. It's funny that
Hopefully
you
that.
mention Leona because he's got a mention here that talking about your Scar Stories podcast and looking at that. I had a look at that myself, and it was a lot of very dark for a lot of people kind of conversation topics. It's a lot to take in, but it's very inspiring as well. Sort of hearing stories from other people and I remember I was listening to a particular episode with your friend that had gone through a lot of loss through her husband and things like that. And I just wondered what kind of inspired you to kind of attach yourself to the stories of others and highlighting. Is it more of a kind of triumph through adversity message that you're trying to send with that particular series? Or so what got you to that point?
It's a really good question. I mean, Scar Stories was kind of a happy accident. What I was trying to do is before I was about to release Favorite Scar, and I wanted to do a little promo thing. And so what I did is I kind of had the idea I was going to do like a live chat for a few weeks up until the song was released and go, and kind of with the theme of like, look, we all have a scar story. What's your scar story? You know, like what you had to overcome. And so I kind of started that way, and I got such an amazing response. And I had so many people tuning in that it kind of set off a light bulb for me. And I was like, well, wait a minute, maybe this is a podcast. Maybe this is something I should just continue to do. And so I started thinking about it, and I don't like. I know it is kind of like there are a lot of dark things, but there's also like the thing that I like about the show and what I'm trying to do with the show is actually the message is no matter what we go through, that there is hope, you know, and that look, when truth is be told, we all have something that we've gone through, and sometimes our power in overcoming things is to actually share it and help each other get through it together, you know. And there's a series that I did called Unstoppable, where I talk to people that have been through stuff, but how they basically turned that situation around into something amazing. Like I interviewed a Navy SEAL that's, you know, was really struggling with like PTSD, and now he's got this whole store of products where he helps vets and people who've been, you know, first line responders who are struggling with like that trauma, and he's got this store of all kinds of these great products that all, you know, basically contribute to them getting better, which is so cool. And then my friend Andrea, who like she overcame,
that was the one I watched.
Yeah, and Andrea was like, she's got this store now where she helps other women like try to find like fashion and things like that, and she's turned her whole thing into, even like some of their clients are, you know, recovering from like, you know, they had to lose maybe their part of their body and because of like a mastectomy, and they help them with like finding clothes that will look good and things like that. So it's really beautiful how they've used their difficulty to kind of create this amazing business, which I thought was like, how cool is that, you know? So it's
Well,
kind of
sorry, I was to say, I think that was what I was trying to get across with the idea of sort of triumph through adversity message that you're trying to put across. It's that we all go through these horrendous things. I have, you have, I'm sure a lot of people down below in the chat have. Lots of people go through different things, but I think that what you've done by showcasing the ways in which people have not turned things to their advantage, but triumphed despite the sort of negative outcome they've had for other things, I think is wonderful, and it is very inspiring, and it will hopefully just I definitely would redirect people to go and have a look at that as well, because it's all on Susan's YouTube channel as well. The Unstoppable series is wonderful. I've watched a lot of it myself. I think it was absolutely fantastic, so definitely go and have a look at that if you get a chance. But yeah, I do think that just how you got to that, did it come from sort of, you like you say, it's a happy accident as such because you were recording Favorite Scar and it came to that kind of point, but how did you come to meet a lot of these people with such incredible stories?
Well, you know, I actually just put on my little detective hat and started researching and finding, and what I was trying to think about, just different things that I know we all go through. Like we did a series on addiction, for example. And so I just started researching like different places that treated addiction. And because that's where you're going to find those stories, is that in places where people are actually in the trenches trying to really help other people. And that was kind of the goal, was to find things that I think too often, especially in our society, and you could even blame social media for part of this, is that we're always giving everybody our highlight reel. You know, we're always giving everybody all the perfect parts of us. Like we want to just appear, we're beautiful all the time, we have no problems, we travel the world, and everything's just perfect. And I'm perfect, and I have a perfect life, and that's not true. And none of us, that's not any of our lives. And I think there's so much community that can be built around just being genuine, you know, and that's sort of my vibe. It's like, let's just be real with each other, because how we heal and recover and actually become great people is through honesty and through just being genuine and saying, look, I've got all these things I want to do and I've got dreams, but I struggle with this. And like, let's each other deal with that. Let's help each other deal with if we're drinking too much, or we're eating too much, or whatever our thing we're struggling with. Like, it's so much healthier for us to talk about that stuff instead of hide it, because there's always like, you know, when we hide and cover, I really think that's where destruction happens, is in the dark. You know, when we bring it into the light and we can share, and we also find that we talk to people and we're like, oh man, I struggle with that too. Like, let's help each other, like let's try to create a community where we can be honest about this stuff instead of pretending it doesn't exist. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm trying to create with that, is a place where there can be honest conversations and give people tools. Because a lot of these people I bring on the show, like the one woman I talked to, that she was from like Al-Anon and things like that. I mean, she had so many great resources to kind of help people work through, like if they have an alcohol problem, or maybe someone in their life they're really struggling with, or someone in their life that is got a horrible problem with alcohol and they don't know how to handle it, and like how do I respond, and what's the healthy way to to deal with this and stuff. So that's giving people tools is a really practical, helpful thing. That's what I like. And I just want to also say, Scar Stories is going to be restarting, you guys. It took a little hiatus this year because I've been doing all these new things with coaching and the fan club and everything. So it's going to be starting this year. We kind of took a little hiatus, but there will be a new season starting soon. But there's a bunch of other things to listen to, so you can
Excellent.
check out.
The workhorse is real. We've got so much going on. You've got your life coaching, new music coming up. You've got Scar Stories coming back. You talked to me about an online boutique store you were looking at doing. There was so much going on for you at the moment, but busy is good, and it's a proof to everybody else as well that we do all have, our bugbears and things like that. Like, crikey, I could host an entire hour-long podcast just on that on its own, with what you were saying about social media and only showing our best selves and all of that, and people only wanting to see the highlight reels and stuff like that. I just think it's wonderful, and I think it's a big part of the reason that I connected so much with you as well, because I really did feel that that kind of connection about honesty and putting across that not everything is sunshine and rainbows, and everyone has that, and it's okay to have that, because for every time you have that, there's going to be another time where there isn't. And I think that's such a powerful message, and I would love to join you in spreading that, because I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of terrible times, and I would love to be able to speak out about that more freely as well. But I do think that you're right, that internet culture wants to see a highlight reel, and I think that bringing that, not even darkness, but the shadows that are in conjunction with the light to the forefront is important, because we're all human at the end of the day, and to have that, I think, is a very powerful thing, and I hope that other people can see that honesty is a powerful thing as well.
Right. No, it's true. And that even extends beyond my podcast, but even the fan club that I've created for you guys that's a big part of it. I mean, we have like a WhatsApp community where we text each other and stuff, and it's really become like a family of supportive friends. And that's really my desire for even creating a fan club, is to not just offer cool benefits and things like that, but also to create this community where there is support and honesty, and people are going through hard stuff. We talk about it. Like, we have a family Zoom every month, which we're doing Saturday, by the way, and it's not too late to sign up if you want to come. I have a Patreon. Right now it's on Patreon. It's moving from there. You can sign up on Patreon to join us. But it's really creating that community where you can be honest with each other, and because life is hard. And another thing just to add to what you're saying is that if you look at the statistics, and I don't know what they are in Europe, but in the United States, especially since the pandemic, our suicide rate and mental illness diagnoses have just gone through the roof.
Same here.
Suicide rate has just tripled or something. It's crazy. That kind of stuff that you hear, that's the stuff, as an artist and as a caring person, that stuff bothers me deeply. And that's one when I've thought through what I really wanted to do with my music, my life, and everything that I am. That's sort of the heartbeat of everything I've created, is I want to provide resources, all different types for different people, where you guys can know that you have a safe place. You have a place where you can find community, you can find encouragement, you can share your heart, you can share what you're going through, and you will not be judged. You will be loved and embraced and encouraged, and we might not have all the answers, but we will be there for you. And that's kind of the, I think that could benefit so many people, because so many people feel alone. It's like we've never been more connected and more alone.
It's strange. It's very strange, isn't it?
Right, exactly. And so that's sort of why I want to change that, and if I can use my platform and my music to do that, then let's go.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, I relate to that. I think that the message that I often try to put out is that no matter who you are, where you are, what situation you are in, you are not broken. You are enough. You have value. There is nothing wrong with you. You know, I mean, whether you're stereotyped a certain type of way, whether you've been outcasted by certain things, whether you feel like you're not enough, you are enough. And I think that that's such an important message. And again, it's why I really relate to the content that you put out there. And I hope that other people do too. And it's been just an absolutely wonderful opportunity to get to do this with you, and to, especially with somebody whose values align with my own so well. And it's just been absolutely lovely. So, I mean, before we wrap up for the rest of the day, is there anything that you would like to let everybody know that perhaps we haven't discussed today? Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, you know, really, I think we've done a great job of covering it. I mean, look, the biggest thing I want you guys to know is that I would love to connect with you. And I hope that, you know, if you're interested in coaching, send me an email. If you're interested in Backstage Pass, you know, let me know about that. And also my fan club is really going to, again, it's being kind of worked on right now. It's going to be really a special experience, and you can sign up now if you want to. It's on Patreon. It's going to be migrating to a different platform, but that's going to be a super easy process. So please join us if you would like. And I'm going to be unleashing all the details on Saturday, actually, on our Zoom call about what's going to be involved in the fan club. So I would love to see you guys there. And thank you for listening to this music. I so appreciate it. And I'm pretty much on all the platforms, so please follow me. And you know, I appreciate your support and kindness so much, and follow your wonderful host here, Joesephyr, as many of you already are. He's amazing, and I hope we can do this again, and I hope I can have you on my Twitch channel.
I would be honoured. It would be lovely. Where can we find you on all your tags? Is at Susan Calloway for everything?
I pretty much. I think on Twitter. I mean, I'm pretty active on Twitter, you guys. Instagram, I am. I don't post quite as much on Instagram, but a few times a week though.
I'm useless at Instagram.
YouTube, YouTube is about to get a lot more active. I know I've got a bunch of Final Fantasy fans there. It's Susan Calloway Music is my channel, but I'm pretty easy to find. If you Google me, you'll find me. So, and then Twitch is just Susan Calloway. It's all like, you know.
And of course, if you are interested in the chat as well, or if you're watching this on YouTube, because I will be uploading this to YouTube as well, if you're interested in the music coaching or the life coaching or anything like that, do drop Susan an email directly at susan@susancalloway.com, and she'll be able to answer any questions you have there. As she's mentioned earlier, free consultations, and hopefully you guys will be able to get something out of that as well. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Leon, who is in our chat, Lightheart Gaming down there, posting all the links, being all the lovelies and connecting us two together. So I'm very grateful for all of that. And thank you all so much as well for your questions, whether you've given them over on Patreon or if you've put them in your chats yourselves. Thank you ever so much for coming along. And as I say, is there anything else that you would like to add before we wrap this up for the evening?
No, you did a great job. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Leon also. Leon, thank you so much for connecting Joesephyr and myself, and for just doing such a great job. Leon is my community manager. You'll see him at all my streams. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to him as well. If for some reason I don't respond fast enough or something, which I'm pretty good about that, but you know, just in case.
Well, things slip through the cracks for all of us. Trust me, I've had that problem too, so don't worry. But yes, so if you're watching this over on YouTube, obviously don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff. And I have had an absolutely wonderful time with you, Susan, and just with you guys in the chat as well. Do stay tuned, actually, if you're watching this live as well, because I do have a little bit of a reveal to showcase that is Final Fantasy XIV related, and we're going to play some FF14 as well. But for the time being, I just want to say a massive thank you to you, Susan. Thank you so much for coming along. It's been absolutely wonderful.